Hi, welcome to this demo of Spectrum Protect version 8.1.9 and the new administration approval for restricted commands. This feature prevents an inexperienced administrator from running a command that might have unintended consequences. And so if you do turn on command approval, if an administrator issues a restricted command, the command is added to a queue of commands that are pending approval. And then another administrator who has approver status must go through and approve those pending commands prior to them being executed. Of course, the administrator could also reject the command, and at that point they would be canceled. I've listed here the restricted commands. The command approval process can either be done from the Operations Center or the command line. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do it from the command line. Be sure to check out the other video which shows the other way. Let's go ahead and get started with the command line. If you issue a query status, that will show you the default of command approval is set to off and approver administrator requires approval is set to on. Let's switch over and look at the administrator VADZIM. Since command approval is off, if an administrator like this one goes out and tries to do something like a delete file space or delete volume, that command will be executed automatically without waiting for anybody to try and approve it. In this case, if there had been actually a volume or a file space that matched those names, those volumes or file spaces would have been deleted. So now let's go ahead and turn on the approval process and show you what happens when the approval process is set on. If you issue query admin, the name of the admin, format equals detail, at the bottom of this output you'll see command approver, and by default that will be set to no. An administrator who has system privileges can do an update admin, the admin name, command approver equals yes, CMD approver equals yes. And they can issue this for either themselves or for another administrator. And this will make that admin a command approver. So here you see Carlos has updated himself with the CMD approver. And now when he does a query admin format equals detail, he will see that Carlos is now a command approver. Now that we have an administrator identified as the approver, we'll go ahead and do a query status and just verify that the command approval is currently set to off. To turn that on, we'll do set command approval on, and this will now enable command approval. If you do another query status, you'll see that now command approval is also set to on. So now if we go back to VADZIM, the administrator, and if he tries to do a delete file space or any of the other restricted commands, you immediately receive a submitted for approval consideration response. So we don't even do any kind of command verification. We just automatically put this type of restricted command into a pending state because the administrator command approval is now turned on. We'll go ahead and issue another delete volume. Notice if you reissue a command that's already in the queue, you will get an error saying that that command is already in the approval queue. And now if we do a query pending command, you'll see all of the commands that are pending, and you'll also see that they have a pending request ID. And this pending request ID becomes important because if you do want to withdraw a pending command, the issuer of that command can issue withdraw pending and then the pending request ID. So now if you do that query pending command, you'll see that command is no longer there. Now, if this administrator VADZIM tried to approve these commands, since he is not a command approver, when he issues the approve pending and then the pending request ID, he will get back that he is not authorized to do this type of approval. So back with Administrator Carlos, he can issue query pending command and see the commands that need to be accepted. You can also issue a query pending command type equals all, and this will show both the pending commands as well as ones that have previously been accepted, as well as any that were withdrawn. Okay, if you do a query pending command format equals detailed, that will give you additional information, including any reasons that were entered for accepting, withdrawing, or rejecting commands. So let's go ahead and have Carlos accept 2 of these commands. So he will issue a approve pending command with the pending request ID and optionally a reason for the approval. Do note that as an administrator, if you were recently granted approval privileges, if you have not logged off of your command line session and logged back in, you will see this error that you don't have authority. So let's go ahead and log off and then log back on and reissue that approve pending command with the pending request ID and the reason. This time you'll see the approval process goes through. Now when he issues a query pending command, there is only the delete volume command that Vazim has issued in the background. So for this command, we're actually going to go ahead and reject it. So you can see what that looks like. Carlos is going to issue a reject pending command and then the pending request ID. So now if he issues a query pending command, the pending queue is empty. Even though Carlos is an approver for other administrators, if Carlos issues a restricted command, because the option approver administrator requires approval is set on, Carlos will also have to receive approval for that command. So in this case, he's issued a delete. And now when he looks at the pending, he sees that that pending process is out there. But when he goes to try and accept the pending process, it will not allow him to do that. It is hard-coded that the commands will stay in the pending queue for 72 hours. After that time, if they have not been approved, rejected, or withdrawn, they will automatically be canceled and not run. However, the reasons that are put in for why a command was either withdrawn or accepted or rejected will remain in the approval command history table until the summary retention period is up. Another thing you can do in the command line is look at the alerts. So you can issue a query alert status and you'll see all the different alerts that are out there. And these will be for both accepted, rejected, withdrawn, pending commands. All of those will show up there. If Vazim wanted to turn off the approval process, the first thing he would issue is the set command approval off. This command would have to be approved by another administrator. Then he would do a set approvers require approval off. This too would have to be approved by another administrator. So if we go back to Carlos, Carlos issues a query pending command, and we can see the 2 commands to turn off approval. And then we see another command out there that has to do with deleting off of volume. So once Carlos approves the turning off of the set approvers requires approval and approves the set command approval off, you'll notice that any of the pending commands in the queue will automatically be deleted off and not run. If you do a query pending command at this point, you'll see that there are no longer any commands in the queue. And if you did a query status, then you'll see that both of those command approval and approver administrator requires approval are turned off. Do note that any administrators that were set as approvers will still have the approval status on their record. So if you do a query admin format equals detail, you'll see that Carlos is still a command approver, so that in the future, if command approval is turned back on, he will automatically be a command approver. So in conclusion, the new command approval for restricted commands prevents inexperienced administrators from running a command that might have unintended consequences. This feature can be turned on or off, and it can be used either from the Operations Center or the command line. Thank you very much.